Hello and welcome to The Creative Experience. My name is Derek Hunt and I'm a professional glass artist. And I interview fellow artists to showcase their work to bring you the very best in what's happening now with glass across the globe. I interview artists from a wide variety of backgrounds. Some of them are at the beginning of their careers. They've just been working with glass for maybe 5 or 6 years. Others have got an international reputation and an award-winning portfolio of glass in a variety of formats. All of them have one thing in common. They're producing beautiful, innovative and exciting new glass, and I'm here to elevate that and showcase it to you as a way of inspiring the next generation and developing a community of fellow creatives. If you find value in this, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel because I create videos on a very regular basis. And so today it is my great pleasure to introduce and bring to your attention Sean Michael Felix. Sean Michael Felix, for the last 20 years, has been devoting himself to creating beautiful art glass gilded mirrors and gilded signs. He uses the orthodox traditional techniques of glue chipping and gold leaf work, as well as hand painting and back painting glass art. He creates these incredible bar signs and one-off feature mirrors which use traditional techniques. Oh, he loves cats, by the way. You'll see cats featuring a lot in his work. His work is really traditional, and it's a craft that I wanted to celebrate. It's a craft that I wanted to bring to your attention today because it is part of the lexicon of decorative glass, and it is a skillful area of work, and it is very traditional. So I do hope you enjoy today's interview. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hi, Sean. How are you doing?
Hi, Derek. How's things?
Fantastic. Where are you speaking from today?
I am in Chicago, Illinois. I'm actually in a neighborhood of the city called Humboldt Park. And yeah, I've been here. My studio's been here about 10 years. So
Fantastic.
I kind of have a showroom storefront studio, and I've got a workshop out back. It's the perfect situation for me.
And so do you have people coming in just ad hoc to sort of see you? Are you open like a regular shop, or is it by appointment, or how do you work?
It's by appointment. Humboldt Park is a strange neighborhood. It's becoming more gentrified, but 10 years ago it was a pretty dicey neighborhood. I had bars on the windows and everything. It's not like that anymore, thankfully, but it's, we had.
That's what artists do. Artists move into the areas, and then suddenly it becomes trendy and gentrified, and you get all the cafe bars coming in a little bit later.
Oh yeah, if Starbucks moves in across the street, I'm screwed. I gotta leave. I gotta go somewhere else. I live in an old storefront building that was built in 1884. Now, to Americans, that's old. That's probably not to you guys.
Oh no, it is. It's a good age. It's a good age.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with glass? I kind of met you through the internet, and we kind of got to know each other through things like Instagram, I think. And I absolutely love what you do, and I think it's really important to kind of show this side of glass to the general public because you're doing something really specialized, and it's really it's something that not a lot of people are practicing. You're doing a lot of gold leaf work, and you're doing a lot of glue chipping work and really traditional glass crafting skills. How did you start with this? How did you get involved with it, Sean?
Well, when I was 17, I couldn't go to art school, so I got into sign painting, and sign painting is kind of like the blue collar way of getting into the arts when you couldn't afford art school, more or less, and. You start sign painting and you're just hand lettering basic signs and things like that. But then it's up to you now where it branches off. Some people go into graphic design after that. I was always interested in glass. I was interested in stained glass. When for a while here in Navy Pier, unfortunately it doesn't exist anymore, there was the Smith Museum that opened up, I wanted to say in the early 90s, I think it was. And it had all this beautiful stained glass windows. And I thought, I want to do this someday. I really love this stuff. And then I started painting, and I actually got a job as an art director for a stained glass studio. So this company that sold stained glass, I started saying, well, what if we did bar mirrors? Because it's like sign painting to me. I could paint fancy stuff on the back of mirrors. And I started getting into, I've always wanted to do gold leaf. And actually, one of my mentors is a guy on your side of the pond, Dave Smith, who is the preeminent Victorian. He's the rock star of all of us. And I was actually fortunate enough to see his studio, and he's been to mine. So it's very cool. So the gold leaf work, the sign painting evolved into doing a higher grade of sign painting. I'm also really interested in history, so I like old world techniques. I like old world skills. If it's something somebody doesn't do anymore and you can't make a whole lot of money for it, hey, count me in. that's my motto.
So you started working as the art director for a stained glass studio, but how did you learn all the skills? I mean, you do reverse glass painting, which we can go into in a little bit more detail. You also do glue chipping and gold leaf work. These are all very specific glass skills. Did you teach yourself, or did you work with others to learn the skills?
I'm mostly self-taught because I'm very experimental by nature. I'm one of these, let's try this. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try that. I'm very experimental by nature. I am mostly self-taught, but then I zeroed in on workshops that I knew. I was painting glass for 5 years, and I thought, I need to look up a professional. And so I took Kathy Jordan and Kenneth Leap. I took their class, and that was a game changer for me. And I realized that finding the right people that you admire, whose work you admire, and you go and you take specifically their classes, their workshops, and then you come home and make it your own.
I think it's great that you are self-motivated to kind of teach yourself, but I think you're absolutely right. You're sort of reinventing the wheel if you're doing it completely on your own, and you can short circuit that by going to someone like Kathy. Because Kathy, I mean, I haven't met her in person, but I'm familiar with her work, and I'm familiar with her glass painting courses, and they look absolutely top drawer. So I think it's, she's a great person to go to kind of learn those really quite difficult, complicated set of skills.
Dave Smith from England came here, and I started learning a little bit about acid etching and the gold leafing. I have a friend and mentor here in Chicago named Robert Fries, and he's a gold leaf artisan, but he's more of a craftsman than an artisan. He goes out there and he does commercial work, and you learn how to make money at it. You learn how to be proficient. You learn how to, and I learned just as much from him. So, what's the definition of an artist? It's kind of hard to define. Some people are looked down upon as not being art. Oh, you're too commercial. You're more of an illustrator. You're more of a, this is fine art that belongs in a gallery. Well, my heroes have always been illustrators, and commercial. And I'm commercial myself, and I'm very unapologetic about it. It's like it's splitting hairs, I think, when you talk about commercialism, because at the end of the day, all of us working in glass are trying to make a living at it. If you don't have the luxury of having a second income or whatever, you're making an income from what you're doing, as I am, as all the other glass artists I know are as well. So by definition, we're all commercial to an extent. We're all selling our work. I mean, what I find fascinating about your work is how you use glass, because you use glass in a completely different way to the way I use glass, and you get completely different results. And it doesn't go in churches, but it goes in cafes, it goes in restaurants. Where do you find you place a lot of your work? Where does it go mostly? Okay, so if I divide my work from the artistic and the commercial, I have done a church. I have done small windows for a church. I do a lot of restorations because most of the stained glass companies in America, they don't do any painting whatsoever. They usually sub that out. Painting and stained glass is like a completely different realm. And we don't have, now I'm talking as a guy from the Midwest, and on the East Coast is where all the history is for stained glass. And I bet 90% of the best glass painters in the United States, I believe, are all on the East Coast. There's some good ones over in California too, but the Midwest is kind of you have to educate your clients as to what it is they're looking at. One of the things I admire about England is you guys are a country of shopkeepers. You have small businesses, and you have these beautiful 100, 200-year-old pubs with all this glass gilding and etching and stuff like that. We don't have any of that here in the United States, hardly. Maybe in Boston or New York, where there's more of a tradition of that, but certainly not in Chicago, So it's like I try to find historic buildings, and then I have to kind of educate them as far as, hey, you need an address transom in gold leaf lettering.
Well, it's you say that there's a lot of kind of traditional Victorian bars and restaurants in the UK, but that's a dwindling supply, because what we're finding as well now, I mean, if you go down to places like London, you still get the traditional acid etched French embossed, as we call it. I don't know, do you call it French embossing, or do you not?
We don't, but that's what Dave Smith calls it. That's his terminology, and that's embossed. Yeah,
but it's basically etching with hydrofluoric acid and creating tremendous effects and doing brilliant cutting, and all of those things are fantastic. But what we're finding in the UK is there are less and less people doing it also. And when a window gets smashed in a pub, somebody puts their hand through it or whatever, it doesn't get replaced like for like. We get a vinyl transfer, or we get something else. So it's a dwindling supply. We were up in Edinburgh, my hometown, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we went to the Cafe Royale. And Sean, you would have loved it there. It's got so much, traditional Victorian glass. It's got, embossed glass. It's got brilliant cutting. It's got fabulous stained glass behind the bar. And I just love it. I just love all those traditional glass skills, and to see it almost like a complete display is fabulous. And so I'm all for glass artists kind of keeping those skills alive, and and just keeping those, because they're hard won, those skills. They're not easy. It's not easy to do. It takes time and practice. Yeah.
I'm starting to do workshops now from my studio where I teach people, and I'm actually combining a little bit of vitreous painting with the gilding, and throw some gold leaf behind it. Let's see how it looks, that kind of thing. One of the things I love about what I do is I have met people from all walks of life, all different religions, different races, different socioeconomic classes, or whatever you want to call it. But that only a few people are going to really appreciate, that kind of work. So.
I think we all battle with that. We've got hardware stores in the UK called B&Q. I don't know if you have them in the States, but basically you can buy a lot of things like garden fences and all the rest of it really cheaply. And I kind of call it the B&Q mentality, where people will go to like a blacksmith and get a price for a handmade wrought iron gate, and then they'll compare it to the price that they can buy what they call a wrought iron gate at B&Q. And it destroys the market. And a lot of people come into glass with a B&Q mentality. They think, well, I can buy stick-on lead, or I can buy something that looks like it, not realizing the amount of man-hours that go into creating what you create. And you're right. It's not for everyone. It's not everybody wants to pay for something that's handmade.
Yeah.
So are there many people doing what you're doing in your part of the world? Do you have a network of other glass crafts people that you can work with and share ideas?
Yes. And the beauty thing is 20 years ago, I would have said, no, nobody's doing this stuff anymore. But I gotta hand it to the younger generation, what we call the hipsters here. They are the ones that are bringing this stuff back. And it used to be gold leaf sign lettering in America was reserved for doctors and lawyers and people like that, now it's independent coffee shops, little barber shops, tattoo shops,
I've got 2 teenage daughters, and my younger daughter loves everything analog. She's fascinated by Polaroid cameras, vinyl records, spool tapes.
The same way.
And it's just like, it's completely novel because they are the digital generation. They're brought up with high definition TVs and everything's like Spotify. You can pull the whole of the world's music down from the cloud if you want. And to see something that's like a Polaroid photograph is one off. And she really loves that. She loves the fact that she's only got one of those in the world. And I'm hoping that next generation is going to kind of flip it over a little bit so that we start valuing the uniqueness of handmade things again, you know? So listen, just with your work, I mean, do you have particular pieces that are favorites for you? Do you have, I mean, are you able to name, I know it's very difficult to name 3 things that you're particularly proud of. It's like saying which of your favorite kids you have, but I mean, do you have 3 pieces that you might want to share with us that you particularly want to bring to our attention?
A stained glass piece, and it was probably only the 3rd stained glass piece I ever did, but it's big, and it's a medieval lady playing a lute, and it was basically taken from a painting by I think the artist was a Victorian German artist named Max von Shadow or something. It's nice. I'm really happy with it, and I think my stained glass painting skills have gotten a little better, but not much. I have a lot to learn yet, but I'm particularly proud of that piece. It took me like a year and a half to make it, kind of thing. And
so, example number 2.
Example number 2.
Yeah.
That is a combination of doing some weird mirror work. I distressed mirror. I got different types of gold leaf on there. I glued glass jewels to it. I sandblast carved it. I've got some abalone and mother of pearl in there. And let's see, the 3rd piece. I have a traditional bent, slumped glass beer sign that I made. And not so much in the States, but you probably saw a lot of this in England. They had a lot of like corner buildings where they actually had bent glass.
Yeah.
And so I made this lager beer, a fictitious made up Czech lager beer that I did, and I got some glue chipping on it, and I did I slumped it in a kiln, and then I gilded it and painted it, and that'll be. Yeah, I think those 3 would be good examples of my favorite pieces. You know, I do really like. I have a feeling that we're evolving into more of these kind of Zoom type interviews and stuff. That was so enjoyable listening and talking to you glass painters and stuff. I love your style and how you mix the modern with the traditional too. I mean, that's very cool. The one girl's face with where you do the brush combing through the mat. I love that stuff. I'm going to imitate that. So
Take it. Absolutely. Take it. I love that. Just for the audience who may be listening, we did a sort of an international Zoom meeting where American artists and myself were engaged with, I think, something like 160 people at its height.
Yeah.
Were watching this and sending information in the chat. And both for you, Sean, and for me, that's a new phenomenon. I've never been involved in something like a live event where so many creatives are in one space, and it was exhilarating. I absolutely loved it, and I hope the American Glass Guild do more of them, you know? I've
always looked to Europe and the crafts and things that have come out of Europe. I kind of think of Europe as like the motherland or something, you know, I enjoy that particular type of creativity, and so I would like to see more and more of that. So listen, Sean, thank you so much for giving me some of your time today. It's been really enjoyable. I have really loved seeing your work, and it's great to sort of chat with you in person rather than just sort of sending comments to each other through Instagram. I'm truly honored by this. This is awesome. Fabulous. Well, it's an honor for me. It's just great to touch base with you, and it's fabulous to kind of show your work to a wider audience. So thanks again so much for joining me today. Very cool. Thank you.